Battlefront 3, the fabled sequel that never was. And with Battlefront 2's revival from the literal grave after being left for dead by EA DICE for 5 years to work on Battlefield 2042. Yeah, you just know that EA is smacking themselves in the back of the head for not greenlighting a sequel. So whenever the franchise continues, I hope it has things like number 8 is the battle point system. I think this is a near perfect game mechanic that rewards the player for performing well, which also makes you want to participate more in the battle. It's kind of like Call of Duty in a way with the score streaks. Playing as an officer and you get a 10-player kill streak, and you could call down a powerful airstrike or something like that. I don't know, something like that would be really freaking cool. Who knows, maybe in Battlefront 3 we can combine the two for an even crazier experience. Especially if we get to customize our score streaks. Now moving on to number 7. Game modes. What's a multiplayer game without them, huh? Nothing, that's what. That's why Battlefront 2 is still being played. There's not another game out there that can quite scratch that itch like Supremacy does. But for a sequel, it would have to be even bigger and have more variety. You could keep the current maps, but if you sprinkle in some even larger maps, then we can have even more carnage ensue. We can have tanks fighting tanks, speeders gunning down troops, aircrafts dogfighting in the sky. It is kind of more like the OG Battlefront games now that I think about it, but in this day and age, it would just blow up. Heck, another game mode I would want is a giant space battle where you have to damage the enemy supercarrier in order to board it on foot. Then you have to fight your way to the reactors or whatever to blow it up from the inside.
Just like the simulation.
I could go on and on about game modes, so drop a comment below with your ideas. I would like to see them. But now it is time for number 6, which I am dubbing as just simply more.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
I want more maps, on more planets, more vehicles, more specialty troops, and obviously more heroes and villains. Since I am a Clone Wars fan, I'm gonna just focus on that. So for example, the clone should have a medic class which will provide that sweet Bacta.
Nothing like a little Bacta.
Why does he say it like that? Sounds like an addict.
A flame trooper for all those close quarters battles. A heavy weapons trooper to take down vehicles. The Wookiee warrior should only be available in lore-accurate battles like Kashyyyk. I think that would make them feel even more special as well. Vehicles I would have to add would of course be the ATTE and LAAT gunship. Heroes would have to be all of these. Okay, but seriously, how did they not add Rex for the blaster hero in Battlefront 2? But holy cow, look at all of this stuff just for one faction as well. I'm gonna have to move on to number 5. You guys get the idea. Dynamic maps. So we got bigger maps covered, but now I want to see things like the Ackley on Felucia that can and will obviously kill all players they come across, whether living or droid. But you could of course put them down as well, just a little something to keep players on their toes. Shoot, let's throw in a live Sarlacc pit on Tatooine or any other planet that makes sense. I know there is a giant dead one on Felucia. Jeez, it just sounds horrible to live on Felucia. Either way, it would be even better if the Sarlacc pit had a random chance to be living or dead. Heck, throw a Rancor on one of the maps just for fun. That would create a mini boss for both factions to team up and take down. More things like that will elevate maps to the next level, especially if there is some randomness to the encounters, because if there is always a Rancor or Acklays or whatever, then it's not as special or dynamic, you know? Alright, I think I got my point across. Let's move on to number 4. First person. Look, this might seem like a minor one for everyone else, but for me, I like my immersion. I want to see all the different first person perspectives. I want that feeling like I am the one wearing the helmet, or see how a droid sees with whatever vision they got. Maybe there could be a setting to turn it on or off for people that don't like it, but the one I want the most is the Clone Commando first person perspective, and make it somewhat similar to the Republic Commando game. But could you imagine also having some first person lightsaber combat, force pushing someone away in first person, choking them as Darth Vader, throwing your lightsaber, all of that stuff. Oh my gosh, it would just be the freaking best. But also, I bet really hard to pull off. But if it could be done well, then why not? If it can't be done, then third person is fine. Also, this doesn't mean I don't want both options. It just kind of sucked in Battlefront 2 when you couldn't use first person on some of the reinforcements. Now are y'all convinced? Good, let's get into the top 3 now. Star cards. I know, the very thing that killed the game originally. But hey, the devs did end up fixing them, at least. Albeit they are far from perfect, in my opinion. I want the cards to be more impactful. In fact, I think a rework might be the move. So instead of just having 3 cards, maybe we should have 3 passive cards and 3 active cards. Then I would be fine with taking an improved thermal detonator as a passive card. And then I'll still have 3 active cards to still choose. Now obviously I would have to bring the thermal detonator as my grenade or active card, because then my passive card wouldn't have any effect. And some improved cards, however, should come with mastery of the class, like the improved battle shout for the officer. Once you reach a high enough rank, bam, now your shout buffs yourself as well. No need to waste a card slot on it. Now we would need a lot more variety in cards, so that way you can truly change your playstyle. Some good ones are the heavy's minigun variations or the officer squad shield. There's really not many that will change your gameplay all that much in Battlefront 2. Besides the hero and reinforcements that you can pick from. Those ones are pretty fleshed out and they feel like they have good cards already. I don't want to make this section too long, so we're gonna have to get going to number 2. Weapons! What I would like is to see more weapons tailored to each era, because it's basically 4 weapons per faction and then you're not even able to add attachments to the starting guns, so it kind of drives you even further away from using the actual guns a rebel or clone or droid or stormtrooper would use. So please allow us to customize those and give me even more guns that each faction would have used during that era. I want to use the more lore accurate weapons because that's just how I am. I don't care about the meta. And if they keep the attachment system, I would like it to be kept pretty simple, just like the current one is. Okay, I think that basically covers it. On to number 1! A co-op campaign. Look, maybe I'm old school, but I miss campaigns, and a good Star Wars campaign is very, very rare. To double down, a good Star Wars shooter campaign is even more rare. I'm only saying that because I don't need y'all telling me to go play Jedi Survivor. I will get around to it when I can, I promise. But I got an idea for a co-op campaign shooter, and yes, I want it to be co-op because there is nothing better than beating a story with your sibling or friend. What I would want from this story is probably something kind of like Halo Reach and Star Wars combined. Something to do with the Rebels actually. Oh, I bet y'all thought I was going to go on about clones, huh? Anyway, why Rebels? Because you can create a small group of really likable characters that could end up not surviving, let's just say. Rogue One comes to mind as a good example of what I am trying to explain here. Something like that, but in video game form could work really well, I think. This small group that you get really attached to could end up getting picked off one by one, with each death having a small impact to further the cause to take down the Empire or even the First Order, because they are basically the same thing. Of course, pulling it off is always harder than just a concept, but I feel like this would really work well as a campaign. Or you could just make a sequel to Republic Commando. I would be fine with that too. Anyway, what do y'all think? Drop your thoughts down below. And on your way out, smash that subscribe button. We are almost to 500 subscribers, and then we could shoot for 1,000. Also, destroy that like button if you enjoyed. I have been the FourFingThing, and may the Force be with you.